Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1464A, and today's date is January 5th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Venezuela Currency Worthless, Forced to Pay for Medicine with Gold. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I uploaded an interview with Harley Schlanger. It is on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. So all you need to do is go over to YouTube, type in X22 Report Spotlight. It will bring you right to the video. Or you can come over to the X22Report.com or NewSentinel.com site, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the video there. You can play it right on the site. Or go to Steemit, that is steemit.com/@X22Report, and you can play the interview right on Steemit. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we've been looking at the job numbers for quite a while, and we understand that the job numbers are completely manipulated, and the manipulation has not stopped whatsoever. Even though Trump is in office, everything is still being manipulated. And what we're seeing right now is this manipulation is continually being pushed forward, where they're telling us that the economy is great. I mean, the GDP numbers are manipulated, the stock market's manipulated, the unemployment numbers are manipulated, and they continually do this. Now, the job numbers came out today, and the job numbers weren't as good as everyone expected, because they thought the job numbers were going to be over 200,000. The BLS reported that the December numbers came in around 148,000, and this is much lower than they expected. Now, of course, these numbers are going to be revised, just like they always do. They've been revising numbers since the beginning. They make the lower numbers higher, then they bring the numbers up again to make everything look fantastic. But what we're seeing right now is a complete breakdown of what is really happening out there. And when we look at the job numbers, we can see that they are manipulated. Now, there are two different unemployment rates, the U3, U6, actually there's more than that, but these are the two that they follow. The corporate media usually reports on the U3. Then we have the U6. Now, they're very different. The unemployment rate for the U3 came in at 4.1%. The U6 unemployment rose to 8.1%. And if you go to John Williams, he's saying that the unemployment rate is around 20-something%. And we see right now, and he's using a calculation that goes back before the 1990s, around that time period. And what we're seeing right now is that there's a lot of individuals that are out of work, because the labor force participation rate is around 62.7%, which means the rest of the country, they're just completely unemployed. And this 62.7% brings us back to the 1980 levels. Now, we need to understand that in the 90s, in the 2000s, even 2008, we were anywhere from 66 all the way up to 67.5%. And we have to remember, the population keeps growing, and the population's getting larger and larger, and the number of people working is getting smaller and smaller. And you have to remember how they calculate all this. Those people who still want a job, still, sending out their resume, who haven't been on an interview within 4 weeks, they don't count them anymore. Those people who's just given up because they just can't find anything, they just don't count them anymore. And those people who are working 1, 2, 3 part-time jobs, those are counted as 1, 2, 3 full-time jobs. And when they lose those part-time jobs, depending on how many hours they're working and depends how much they're getting paid, it all depends per state, they might not be included in the job loss of a full-time job, because they might not meet the requirements, and it might be considered a part-time loss, and they just don't count it. But they were counted as a full-time job. So we can see how all of this is completely manipulated. Now, the average hourly earnings has really gone nowhere. I mean, since 2008, where it dropped dramatically, it's been bobbing up and down below anything recognizable where wages are growing. And right now, it's basically going nowhere. It's like flatline, if you really look at this. So nothing has improved whatsoever. So where did we lose all the jobs? What happened? Why all of a sudden did the jobs decline so rapidly in December? Well, when you look at this, it came from the retail industry, now, which is very odd because we're in the holiday season. Remember all those stores that were closing and the jobs that were being lost? I mean, Macy's just reported they're going to be laying off 5,000 people because they're closing stores. Well, guess what? All those numbers started to come in. and it looks like retail jobs tumbled by 20,000. Now remember, when stores close, they don't count those numbers right off the bat. Same thing with sales. They average it out and they wait for a period of time and then they include it. And it looks like this is what they've been doing. And we're at this point where retail is starting to decline. We're actually seeing it now compared to what they were saying before, where they're saying, oh, everyone's getting employed in retail. It's just the way you manipulate the numbers. You can make it look any way you want. But in reality, people are losing their jobs. What they do is they manipulate it to make it seem like retail is still strong and still doing well. But Credit Suisse is out there, and they're saying that the retail industry, well, we're going to have major problems in 2018. We're going to see a wave of store closings and retailer bankruptcies in this year. They're looking at it and they're saying that it's deteriorating very quickly. Macy's has already said that they're closing stores. JCPenney's is looking that they might be closing some stores. We're seeing other stores that are going to be reporting in saying that we have to close. Sears is one of them. And we're going to see many other retailers coming out saying that, yes, sales weren't as great. Now, of course, the corporate media is out there saying that, retailers are saying that sales were a lot better than they thought. But again, what was their profit? I mean, they could have sales, yes. But if they had to lower the prices on their products so far down where they didn't make a profit and they can't bring in the revenue to support their stores, guess what? They're going to be closing them. We've seen this before. And we're going to see it again. And this is what we're waiting for. Now, is this going to spread to every single store all at once? No. Just like the real estate market, when it started to collapse, people saw it on TV in California. People saw some places in the East Coast. The South was really good. People were still speculating down there. No one even knew what was going on. And all of a sudden it started to spread. Those people in certain areas of the country, you might be seeing that your town, your city is still doing well. It just takes a certain amount of time to reach your area. And it does spread. And what we see is it spreads in certain areas first, and then it spreads, more so to the outer reaches, and it gets to more cities, more towns. And then before you know it, people are sitting there going, what is going on here? I don't understand it. I mean, I remember back in 2006, 2007, when the Northeast, all of a sudden for housing, traffic dried up. People couldn't understand it. The realtors didn't understand it. But in the South, if you spoke to someone in Miami or something, they say, no, real estate is fantastic here. We're building like crazy. I have more contracts than I can count. And the people up in the Northeast going, I don't understand this. What's going on here? And then eventually what happened? It spread. And it spread all the way down to the South. It spread to the Midwest. It spread everywhere. And people were all sitting there scratching their heads going, I don't understand what's going on. Why is traffic drying up? We're going to see the same thing once again. We see the ISM services printed a disappointing 55.9. They were expecting a 57.6. It dropped to a 4-month low, and new orders have utterly collapsed in the last 2 months, even after the hurricanes, and business activity fell. So what we're seeing is things are starting to fall apart. We are getting tons of indicators letting us know, like the yield curve and the Bank of America, 11 indicators out of 19 telling us that we're heading into a recession. We've looked at other indicators, especially with the Fed, who actually discontinued some of their indicators so you wouldn't find out what was really going on. One of their indicators was very good that told us that we are in a recession right now, and they discontinued it. And this tells you that they're trying to cover up everything so you don't really understand what is going on. Think about it. Why do you think, if the economy is so great and everything is so fantastic, why then is the retail industry having such a hard time? We know it's not going to online. The numbers don't support it. We know that there's a lot of people losing their jobs. We now find out that retailers have lost a lot of jobs. We know that Macy's is going to be laying off more people at their jobs. We know that these numbers in unemployment are manipulated. If the economy is improving and everything is going the way the government and the Fed is telling us, why don't we see an expansion of everything. Why did the automobile industry have to bring in the subprime people and give them loans? Why are their sales then still declining? I mean, think about this. Go back prior to 2008 when they were convincing you that the economy was great. And they said, hey, listen, the economy's fantastic. Housing's fantastic. The subprime securities are rated AAA. Take out loans. Keep taking them out. Buy as many houses as you can. Retail was expanding. People were taking out equity lines of credit because the housing prices were going up. Everyone felt great. And then there were people out there saying, yeah, we're headed into a complete disaster. We're going to have a recession. The housing market's going to crash. People laughed at them. People said, you're crazy. That makes no sense. Look what we see today. We see with our own eyes. Everything's great. But you don't see what is underneath everything. Because the news is out there telling you the subprime securities are AAA. The Fed is telling you that housing is fantastic. The government is giving you great numbers. People are feeling great because their housing prices are going up. They feel comfortable, like they're earning wealth. Well, they really weren't because they really don't have it. It's paper wealth. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, when everyone felt great, everyone felt fantastic, it fell apart. And people were shocked. I don't understand this. Everything was going so well. They told us it was going so well because everything underneath, everything behind the scenes was not revealed. You didn't know the subprime securities were complete garbage because everyone told you they were AAA. You didn't realize how many speculators there were out there in the real estate market. You didn't realize how many people had adjustable rate mortgages. And if the Fed, which they did, started to raise rates, it would destroy them. You didn't realize how many corporations were completely bankrupt. AIG, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, the automobile manufacturers. You didn't realize how many trillions of dollars would be needed to bail them out. The same thing is happening once again. Don't be fooled by it. Because behind the curtain is what is really happening. And that's what we've been looking at. We're not looking at the shiny new thing in front of us. We're looking beyond that to see what's really going on behind the curtain. And what we see behind the curtain are warning signs all over the place. We see in Venezuela, and this is a really good example, where they're seeing a huge amount of inflation. The bolivar is declining rapidly. The paper currency is worth nothing. And it looks like the Venezuelan government has nearly exhausted its foreign exchange reserves, and its citizens have resorted to mining Bitcoin, trying to get some wealth. And the country's economic crisis is finally forcing the government to make unusual requests of its trading partners, including pharmaceutical companies from which the government buys medicine for the country's hospitals. And what they're trying to do right now, instead of using their currency, they're saying, would you accept diamonds, gold, or other precious stones? You mean the gold, silver, diamonds, the things that really hold value? I wouldn't say so much diamonds. I would say more gold and silver and other precious metals. But they're looking at something that has real value to give to the pharmaceuticals to get the medicines. Now, the farmer representatives, they don't know what to do with this because they're saying, well, we normally don't take, gold, silver, diamonds, and things like that. We like cash. But they're looking at this saying, you know something? Maybe we should accept gold. Maybe we should accept diamonds because they're looking at how much it's worth, what they can sell it for, and they're thinking maybe this is a good idea. Maybe we will do this. They haven't decided as of yet, but you can see, and the point being made here is that when things go south and your paper currency is absolutely worthless, you turn to something that holds value. Yes, there are people in there trying to mine Bitcoins, but to make a large purchase, they're using precious metals to make this purchase because they understand gold holds value. Actually, if you notice, gold has been moving up a little bit. And like I said in the past, once you see, just like Bitcoin, Once you see gold start to move up 1,400, 1,700, 1,900, 2,000, well, you know there is definitely something wrong in the economy. Because once the gold starts to move up like this, you know the central bank has lost complete control because they can't manipulate it down anymore. And once you see gold move like this, it's going to be very, very difficult to get. Same thing with silver. And when it starts moving up even faster than that, that's the signal. Now, are we exactly there yet? No, but we're starting to see gold move up a little bit. Will the central banks smash it down once again? They might. But we can see that during a crisis, during a currency crisis, countries, the people, they will turn to other ways of paying for things. And there are economists out in Venezuela saying that inflation is going to surpass 2,000% during the coming year, which tells you something. They're also calling for inflation here in the United States, throughout Europe, even though the Fed is out there saying that inflation is still very low. You can see inflation in many different areas. Remember, they've been offloading it in many different places. The stock market, the housing market, the college tuitions, out to other countries. And eventually what's going to happen, it's going to come all back to the United States, especially when other countries decide they're not going to be using the dollar as their reserve currency to purchase oil. Because what do they do then with those dollars? Well, they're going to float back to the United States, which means more currency in circulation, which means it's a declining, the currency is devalued because there's a lot more currency in circulation, which means it costs a lot more dollars to pay for those items, which is inflation. The items don't go up in price. The value of the dollar declines. You need a lot more of them to get the same exact thing. Same thing with gold. You're going to need a lot more dollars to get the gold. That's why you see gold move up in price. And we're heading to that period of time. And we can see that other countries, that's an example of what you can expect when things start to fall apart and your paper currency loses its value completely. People turn to bartering. People turn to precious metals. They might even turn to the cryptocurrency market to sell that to purchase something, maybe a piece of gold, and then use the gold to purchase their items. Or maybe if they can use the cryptocurrency to purchase that item, they might do that. But you can see we're headed in that same exact direction. This is why you need to be ready and prepared. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.